So good afternoon and welcome to the European Context Conversation, Greenland versus President Trump. Is Greenland still on Washington agenda? Who can defend the island? Our speaker is Ole Aggo Markussen, Greenlandic political analyst and development expert with more than 16 years in senior roles across the government, energy sector, fisheries, employer organizations, and media. His career includes senior roles in the Government of Greenland as ministerial secretary, director of the Employers Association, and coordination and secretariat chief at Nukissiorfiit, where he led strategic initiatives, organizational development, and communication. He was also in the media editor-in-chief of the local newspaper. My name is Mirjana Tomic, and I curate and moderate European context seminars and panels on politics and media in Europe for two Vienna-based organizations, Presseklub Concordia, founded in 1859 and still active, and Forum Journalismus und Medien, an organization specialized in training professional journalists. European Context is generously supported by the Austrian Erste Foundation. Today we shall focus on Greenland, the island, the country, the biggest island in the world, that 80% of which lies above the Arctic Circle. It is home to about 56,000 people, mostly Inuit people. Though part of the continent of North America, Greenland has been politically and culturally associated with the European kingdoms of Norway and Denmark for more than a millennium, beginning 1986. For the rest of us who do not live in the north, in Denmark and Norway, Greenland is, I would say, if you fly to the United States, it's a place that you know very well where it is because it's halfway flight to the United States, but at the same time, the US President Trump, during his first mandate, wanted to buy the island. And now during his second island, he plans to annex the island. So, and it is only yesterday that the Danish intelligence said that the United States is a threat to Denmark and to Greenland. Before we start about the Greenland perception of what is happening around it and in the Arctic and the big power play in the Arctic, please explain to us is Greenland America? Is Greenland Europe? Are Greenlanders European? Are they American? Just to have the sort of cultural, political context before we continue about political and security issues. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for having me. My name is Ole Aggo, as she said, and you just stop me if you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm a little bit rusty in English. It's not my native language, so to speak. But anyways, Greenland is dependent of Denmark. We've been colonized, so to speak, in 17 in the beginning of the 1721. We are extremely dependent of Denmark. Almost 60% of our annual income is block grant from Denmark. So in that aspect, Greenland is very much part of Denmark economically. But cultural-wise and continental, we are part of the American continent, and many, like me, don't feel like we are European. We are North Americans, and our tribal natives in Nunarput in Canada and Alaska is very much connected to this land too. So my thesis is that we are not a part of European continent. We are not a part of Europe. We don't feel like Europeans. And I know that there has been talked about whether or not Greenland should be a part of European Union. We left European Union in 1984 because we are not European. And in order to become a member of Europe, you have to be a part of Europe. You have to be a European country. So this is not an option at all. Although if you wish it or not, it's not an option for us. So we are a part of the American continent.
You were a founder of, and you were a member of a political party that, if I understand correctly, was for independence. What was this vision of independence? Independent from Denmark, but can 56,000 people be totally independent?
No, nobody can be totally independent. Austria, Europeans, the single entities in Europe cannot be independent on themselves unless they want to be a little bit more poor, so to speak. Now, our vision of independence is that everything that is about our country regarding ourselves and our democracy shall be determined here in our own country. It's very much a discussion, at least in my own party, is that if you want to have a democracy, you cannot allow entities outside yourself to determine or make decisions on behalf of you. It's simply not an option anymore. We know that Denmark have done that in many instances in our history, and it's not an option anymore. We don't. I'm sorry about my language, but we don't give a shit anymore. We don't want to be a subject to anyone. We want to be our own masters in our own house. But that does not mean that we want to isolate ourselves. This is not possible. It's a utopia if you think so. I mean, 56,000 people would not have effective security policies, effective defense policies. We don't even have our own currency, and 56,000 people cannot have their own monetary policies or currencies. So in that matter, it's of course a vision in cooperation with others.
Who would be
is willing to.
those others? Cooperation with which country or territory?
Well, I think European continent is very important to Greenland, but also the Russians and Chinese. I mean, we sell a lot of our goods to Chinese and Russians and Europe, of course, and the United Kingdom. We could establish more cooperation with the Canadians, especially Canadian Inuit. And we have established a connection to the American political system through embassies, and the United States just opened a embassy here in Greenland a few days ago.
An
They've been
embassy.
here, an embassy an embassy-like entity. They have been here in the last 5-6 years. Now they're sort of is more present in Greenland than they are previously. So it's a whole palette of possible cooperations with other countries, you can say that in many ways the Greenlandic vision of becoming independent is also a vision of becoming globalist, so to speak. So to speak, opening our countries to others, and utilize the resources we have here in the manner that we can control ourselves. We don't want to be an entity like the old colonial system in Africa and huge part of Asia, who sort of have been robbed from their old colonial entities. This is not going to happen in Greenland, believe me. But we are open to cooperate. We're open to develop our economy, and believe me, we need to develop our economy.
Well,
So to speak, our vision of independence is not isolationism. It's more like to standing in our own feet and have our own saying on in what tempo or speed things shall be done, and get rid of the notion that somebody who has nothing to do with this country actually is deciding what to do in this country. That is not feasible.
Are you referring to Copenhagen?
Yeah, of course. They have been doing that in all our history.
Just for the audience that is not informed, if I'm not mistaken, it was only in 1953 that Greenland stopped being a colony, a Danish colony. Let me, a few questions. I understand that for the past 2 years, Greenland has developed its own foreign affairs strategy. It's international. Could you tell us what does it consist of? And then I will ask you, where do you see the American initiative to buy Greenland, to annex Greenland? But what are your not your person, what are Greenland's priorities when it comes to foreign policy?
Yeah,
that are locally
correct.
developed.
Yeah, just to make a little bit broader perception of what we're talking about, Greenland became home rule government in 1979. Home rule government is an entity nobody knows what it is, and we didn't know at that time that we actually has been bullshitted to to have this home rule government because United Nations don't recognize what it is. So we negotiated again, and in 2009 we have self-government, which we were established as a entity where United Nations recognized us as a people. This is very important. So in that perspective, Greenland has never, politically at least, has some sort of cohesive foreign policy or security policy. So Greenland began to develop this thesis of developing what foreign policy and security policy we need to have. That started for about 2.5, 3 years ago. And last year, this spring, this year, the first foreign policy strategy is actually presented by the government, and it's called Nothing About Us Without Us. Hence our historic affiliations with Denmark, who sort of have been maintaining our, so to speak, our foreign policy on behalf of us without asking us of anything. But anyways, the idea is that Greenland want to be an active actor, but not a passive object for anybody. It is focused on keeping the Arctic as a low-tension, non-military entity. We want to strengthen ties with trusted partners, and we want to ensure...
Which partners, excuse me, can you repeat, with which partners?
Trusted partners.
Oh, trusted, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we want to ensure that our foreign activity here supports our own interest here in Greenland. That is the main scope of this Arctic strategy. We call it Arctic strategy. It's both foreign policy and security policy. And it is written while we are aware of what United States is about to become. So it's both. It has some pathways. It has a European pathway. We have a Chinese pathway, we have a United States pathway, and we have a Canadian pathway, and of course, our friend in Iceland. So yeah.
So how did you or people around you react when during the first mandate and now the second one, the U.S. president offered to buy Greenland or to annex Greenland? What was the local reaction? Greenland has no army. So What can you do in this situation, considering that you would like to be the masters of your own destiny?
Yeah. Well, the idea of buying Greenland resurfaced in around Christmas last year. And the Greenlandic reaction was very straightforward. Greenland is not for sale. We are not for sale. You cannot buy people. What universe do you live in to think that you have this entitlement to think that you have the right to rob anybody around yourself? I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, you actually is short of words when you think about what this means. But anyways, Greenland is not for sale. Denmark and NATO has provided the formal security framework for Greenland, but the strongest protections was actually our own political unity. There were several manifestations in Greenland of not wanting United States to come and sort of behave the way that, thinking that this is we are entitled to do whatever we want to those people and be entitled to do whatever we want with this piece of land. Nuuk and Copenhagen at that time spoke with one voice. We understood that we have to come close, and I think we at that time, anyways, at least closed the conversation very quickly. But it keeps resurfacing, we sort of feeling. I think we sort of feeling a little bit like Canadians who is feeling threatened by this entity who thinks they are entitled to rob anybody they wish to rob in the
Yes,
world.
I understand you, but who would defend the island if I'm not expecting a standoff like in front, like in the Caribbean, but who do you think would or should or can defend the island should the American presence, because the U.S. has a base in Greenland, should the number of soldiers increase or pressure increases, who would defend the island? Who are you counting on?
We have only one who can defend it. That is the paradox of this this security situation we are in now. We've been reliant of NATO, but the biggest part of NATO, the most powerful entity in the world, has actually begun to demise NATO. That this is perhaps not the security architecture that they see in the coming years. So we're sort of in a situation where nobody can protect us. I mean, if we have this situation, let's say for the sake of entertainment that Russians do decide to come to Greenland, the only one who can protect us is the United States. Perhaps Canadians would do something too. If they don't have that, you don't have anything. Denmark is not able to defend Greenland. Geopolitically, Denmark is not a player. So they will not be able to defend Greenland in any way. So we are sort of in a situation where you sort of is put in that situation that if United States tomorrow decide that Greenland is so important to us that we do want to have more control over it, you can't do anything. And historically, the reaction pattern in Greenland has always been that we are extremely aware of when United States say anything about their own security, that they have sort of they want to build those things in Greenland and so forth in case of their own security. We always known that this is not a question. This is a statement that you can say yes to, and then you can try to have the best outcome out of it depending on the situation you have. So in the reality, no one can protect us except United States. This is the painful situation we are in.
One of the reasons, or maybe although the President Trump speaks about security, the US security and the importance of Greenland there, but also we cannot forget that Greenland has a lot of minerals and the minerals that everyone wants. From what I understand, it is very hard to get to these minerals because there are not enough roads, because it is there is no railway. It is cold. There is ice, and there is a long list of let's say hurdles before one can actually exploit. So, which country do you think could actually have that that amount, would be willing to give this finances to actually start exploiting? I understand that there were many attempts, but there are only two mineral exploitations right now in Greenland. Am I correct?
Yeah. We have a gold mine in South Greenland, and we have a rare earth minerals site who is about to become reality. Yes.
And the rest of it is open to whoever to the bidders and who has the means and the infrastructure to actually do it.
Yeah. I mean, the Greenland has always been rather isolated, of course, because not because of our climate. It's actually a misunderstanding. Right now here in Nuuk, the temperature is -1. It's nothing. In Canadian continent, it's -35. I think it's very different climates. Okay. But northern part of Greenland is, of course, less accessible than the southern part of Greenland where I live and where I come from. In South Greenland is not Arctic, it's subarctic. We have trees, we live upon the land, we have agriculture, we have sheep farms and so forth. So just to make sure that you understand that perhaps if you have a notion that Greenland is ice, 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 this is not what it is. Okay. It's a vast country with huge resources. But all the resources has been mapped in the last 30, 40 years. We know exactly what it is, exactly where. We stopped developing potential oil fields in the seas 20 years ago, I think. Effectively 6 years ago through our legislation. So if you think about the continental Greenland, every bit of the mineral resources that we have, it's actually taken, so to speak. It's been assigned to companies to explore possibilities of that mineral. But from exploring to exploiting, that step is far more unlikely because it's extremely expensive. And as you said, we don't have any roads, we don't have infrastructure. All this massive lands is actually left alone. So you have to develop infrastructure and so forth. So the feasibility studies, when the companies came to this conclusion that we have those amounts of minerals of certain types in this area, and then they will begin to make feasibility studies. And that process is extremely difficult. I think the companies has learned that it is difficult to make a profit of the minerals as it is today in the world, although that the scarcity of minerals in the world as the decline, of course, will be more and more interesting to come to Greenland and take those resources because the prices will go up, of course. So,
but second, to
it's
what
sort of,
extent climate change and the rising temperature and the melting of ice, to what extent is it affecting Greenland? Is it going to be easier to exploit minerals once the temperature goes up?
yeah, it's going to be easier because the summer window is enlarged. Yeah, it's you have more time in the summer, in the period of summer, to actually explore what you have as a license. Yeah, so it's more accessible, but it's not the same that it's more rentable. It's not the same that it's more
Profitable.
profitable. Yes, exactly. Thank you.
The way you sound is like you're telling big companies better not come to better not come
Yeah,
to Greenland. It's not going to be very profitable. Am I right?
no, yeah. I mean, I mean, countries don't explore minerals. Companies do.
Of course.
And there's no country who explore minerals. So if you take oil, just a thought. Let's take two different minerals. Let's take rare earth minerals, whose basically just means different forms of magnets. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and let's take oil.
Mm-hmm.
The oil is not the future because the trend of taking oil and the development to become more sustainable energy in the world is about to cross each other. It would not be feasible to take more oil from the underground, and if you should do it in Greenland, it would not be profitable. Uh, just take Venezuela, as United States is very much interested in nowadays, has the world vastest resources of oil, who is not utilized that. So, I mean, I don't think the oil is the option, but I think that the rare earth minerals here in Greenland will become more interesting because the United States has an urgent need of rare earth minerals. Strategically, they have been reliant on China to provide those minerals. And it's convenient to do so because it's extremely messy and pollutant to take those minerals out of the ground. But it will come, and mind that the United States itself is one of the largest deposit of rare earth minerals. But they don't want to do it because it's messy, it's pollutant, it's rather do it ashore in other countries than do it yourself in your own country. So if this is the possibilities, then I think that the need of rare earth mineral in United States in order to compete with other countries, if they want to compete in that manner, their security strategy says it will, then they will need access to those rare earth minerals. And Greenland is obviously interesting in that manner.
Just two quick questions, and then we are opening for questions of the audience.
Yeah, thank you.
Greenland is not mentioned in the latest strategy paper that was just released in the United States. Is it a good thing or bad thing that Greenland is not mentioned?
I think it's not important. It's beside the point whether or not Greenland is mentioned, because the strategy talks about a very important aspect of all this whole wide United Americans' way of understanding the world is that they think that the United States have the sole right to dominate all the American continent. So they have sort of revived this notion by declaring that Monroe Doctrine is once again in play, meaning that it goes for Greenland too because we are a part of the American continent.
And do you agree, and this was my initial question, with this evaluation of the Danish intelligence that U.S. has become a big threat, an important security threat for Denmark and Greenland?
Sorry, once again, I didn't hear you.
I said, do you agree with this latest evaluation of the Danish intelligence that the U.S. has become a very important threat, a security threat to Denmark and Greenland?
Well, if you think about security threat like that they're going to kill us, do understand me right. I mean, if we think about security threat as something that will come with the airplanes and ships in order to eradicate Greenlanders, this is not. I don't think, with all due respect to the United States, that this is what they have in mind. If you think about the security threat that Denmark perhaps will lose the influence in Greenland, this is on them. I mean, I don't think that it is, a security threat in the history of our humanity has always been the fight for resources. It has been the fight for oil. Now it's shifting to the fight of rare earth minerals and accessible minerals like copper and so forth. So in that perspective, if you think about how it's been done in the old days, where the dominant colonial power sort of benefited everything from what they're doing, if that is the threat to Greenland, then I am honestly scared if they want to do it in that manner. But if they want to utilize Greenlandic resources as they always have the opportunity to do, in a manner where it benefits Greenland too, then I don't have any views about whether or not it's Germany who do it or United States who do it, quite honestly.
Okay.
So if you can perceive the security threat depending on where you are. If you look at it from Copenhagen, yes, they have this imminent risk of losing Arctic influence as a state and become a small state where nobody is going to mention them again. Or you can perceive it from Greenland and thinking, how can we make the best of this situation we are in now, knowing that we don't have any means economically or any means militarily, any means politically, to actually have some influence of what they're doing. So I think you should think of it that I think that it's very urgent that we must begin to strengthen our relationship with, for example, France and Germany and Canadians, and of course Icelanders, and we are doing it. Canadians is here, Germany is here, France is here with their consulates, in order to show that we are here too, to ensure that Greenland is not for sale for anybody.
Thank you. There is a question here. The person, David, then I will give the word to David Del Monte. There is a question. Hi, Ole, from Olav Njanstad. There has been certain tension between Greenland and Denmark through the last 20 to 30 years at least. How will you say the relationship with the Danish authorities has developed after this very provocative move by Donald Trump?
What I can speak of what I observe. What I observe is that Denmark, who historically has been very reluctant to make any concessions of anything of what any in any historic perspective have been doing in Greenland. To make any confession whatsoever, denying, for example, Greenlandic wish to make a reconciliation process between Greenland and Denmark in order to strengthen our ties in the future, which they blatantly denied. We don't need those entities to come here and tell us anything about what we have been doing in the historic context, or the atrocities with young girls in Greenland who has been denied to give birth to their own child, the atrocities of young people who has been moved to Denmark and so forth. Denmark has never been reluctant to deal with it, talk about it, or make any concession about it whatsoever. But in the last 2 years, they have been willing to confess to anything. So you can see that shift, that they are politically under pressure, not from Greenland, but from the United States. And the European countries do increasingly see what the historic context is between Greenland and Denmark. And it is horrible, believe me. So, for example, here yesterday, the Supreme Court in Denmark, which is unthinkable a few years ago, has acknowledged that the Greenlandic woman who has been denied to give birth to their own children should be entitled to compensation. And they have followed our own strategy here in Greenland, where some of those women who have been denied to give birth to their own children, 14 or 15 women, has been acknowledged to have this compensation without any dealings with the judicial system. This is just a right they have. And the Denmark announced yesterday that they will do the same. So you sort of can see a shift in the tone, in the diplomacy, because they know they have to be good guys in order to maintain the relationship with Greenland.
Thank you. Davide Del Monte, please turn on the camera and go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Davide from Italy here, journalist. I've been to Greenland 1 year and a half ago in order to follow the Kvannenfeld project. And my question is, of course, related to this. I fully understand and, of course, agree on your position about how Greenland can defend itself from colonialist strategies from other geopolitical power. But I would know, and I would ask to you, how do you think you people of Greenland can protect and defend yourself and your land from neo-colonialist strategies from mining companies and big private entities, as for example, in the case of the energy transition mineral in Kvannenfeld, that is not stopping its activities because of the will of the people? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good question. Perhaps we could begin with the Greenlandic people. Greenlandic people is eager to sort of be a part of the world society, a normal world society where you actually have some dealings and trade with each other. The Greenlandic people don't have any problem with that. But we are extremely aware of what happened in the previous years, especially in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, in vast part of Africa and parts of Asia, where the people who live there has been denied the ability to develop their own economy based on their own resources. So we have been doing legislative processes in our parliament to avoid those situations. So we're going to take our takes in the supply chain so to speak, not in the salaries of people, which is, been done in old days. You hire some people, so then you will be okay if they pay some taxes on their own work. So I think what we're going to do, I don't know, but I think we are going to take our take in the supply chain. And when they, for example, take the minerals out of Greenland, then they have to pay a debt to Greenland before they do so. But to sort of sum up your question, in our goodwill, it will never be so that, for example, big companies around the world who is used to being entitled to do whatever they want, this is not going to happen in Greenland. If they have this notion of this attitude, they will not have the exploitation permit. Period.
Thank you. There is another question in chat from Sonja Vesova. She works for the Slovak newspaper Denik. The question goes: the American administration started to use business for peace philosophy in Ukraine, and this year we have seen pressure from President Donald Trump on Kiev to sign rare earth agreement. Do you see a similar scenario in Greenland, where Trump could pressure the island and its local government to sell rare earths in exchange for peace? Would the local politicians agree to this kind of proposal?
Yeah, good question, but also a hard question, because just understand that Greenland don't have any military presence. We don't have soldiers. Yeah, we are 56,000 people. I mean, what could we do? Oppose the United States, which is the mightiest military power and still economic power, although China has surpassed them. But they still are a mighty power. So you're going to deal with it the best way you can. But if you have this notion that, if United States or those people in the government in the United States today have this notion that they can go to Greenland and grab whatever they want and they don't have to have any regard to Greenlandic people, then you are in deep shit. Yeah. Because all you are 56,000 people, believe me, we will make it very difficult for them to be here. And we will in that moment begin to fight the time itself, the time for them to disappear, the time for United States people to once again come to common sense with themselves, that there actually is a part of democracy, that they believe in universality of human rights, that it goes to transgender, lesbians, black, white, brown, what have you, and the right to utilize your own country is the right you have, and you can go in as a foreign entity and develop those in cooperation with those who live there. If you don't have this notion, you are going to have some problems here.
Well, speaking of that, could you just tell us how was it when J.D. Vance came to Greenland, and so did Donald Trump's son? How did I understand they never walked around Nuuk, or did they walk around Nuuk?
Well, Donald Trump's son was the first who have the audacity to come here, and we sort of thinking, okay, everybody's welcome here as tourists. I mean, who cares? So he is, of course, a little bit spectacle for people here in Nuuk. But if you notice the pictures of those guys, they are completely alone. They have one Greenlander who has showing them around here in Nuuk, and that's it. And they have the opportunity to have some pictures of themselves in order to sell it to their base in the United States. And thinking that, oh my God, this country is ours, and we're going to do whatever we want to do with it. I think they did go home with this notion that this is not perhaps that easy with those people. I mean, we have a 1,000 years history in our country, and we're not going to concede to anybody who comes here and think that they have been entitled to be more higher human beings than the Greenlanders here. I mean, forget it. So he sort of did that and went home, and everybody forgot about it. And then Teddy Vance wanted to do it, the same stunt. He told in advance. Remember that this Donald Trump stunt didn't actually did it in advance, at which it was a sort of part of the period of time, so nobody have sort of time to do anything about it. So he was just here as a guest, whatever. But the Teddy Vance actually did announce it, that he wanted to come here, because first it was Donald Trump who wanted to come to Greenland. And he sort of chickened out. I don't know what happened, but instead the vice president is set to come here, and he stated it in advance that the one he wants to come here with his wife. And there was immediately such a reaction here in Nuuk. We are 19,000 people here in Nuuk. We are not many, but we are many enough, at least if we stick together, to make this message to the United States that he is not welcome here in our country. So what did he do instead? He go to Thule Air Base, which is the northern part of Greenland, to a military installment where there is solely United States soldiers there, and pretended that he has been in Greenland. I mean, what do you say? If they don't have the guts to come here and meet us, what the fuck?
Are there any other questions? Well, we are now all experts in Greenland. Is there anything, before we close, that you would like European journalists, media, and academics to know? Because most people in this Zoom talk are not really experts on Greenland. How would you like us to perceive the island, your country? And how should we understand, especially intellectually and analytically, different messages that come from Copenhagen, from the US, etc.?
Well, Copenhagen has a certain interest in those issues, and United States obviously has some certain interest in those issues. My main message to you would be just respect us, that this is our land. If you want to come here, do it in our terms. We have the laws. We are a democracy. We have the rule of law here in Greenland. This is very important to Greenlanders. This is deeply embedded in our culture, that we are a people of rule of law. If you do it, you will be okay. But Europeans sort of is about to miss the opportunity to do something about this. I mean, first time United States did this, Donald Trump began to talk about annexing Greenland, the first that we should be 51st state in the United States. Afterwards, he'd want to purchase Greenland. This happened about Christmas. Just to let you guys know that Greenland was extremely isolated. We was solely alone from January to something about May last year with United States. Europeans was paralyzed. They couldn't do anything about it. They didn't do what to do about it, although we in Greenland always have thought that these people must have some form for expertise in the government system to deal with those things. But I know we are dealing with a superpower, but the point is that Greenland was alone. We are not so much alone today because Germany is here, France is here, which is, I think, is important, and Canadians is here. We were alone at that time. I think Europeans have to pull themselves together and deal with their present threat right now in Ukraine in order to maintain, preserve, and develop this worldview we have that we live in a democracy. If you don't do it, we can't do it. We are solely on the hands of United States if United States decide to do something about us. But at least you are more than 400 million people. You have one of the strongest economy in the world. You have to pull yourself together and do something about this politically.
Well, we can also come as tourists.
Yeah, of course. You're
Thank
always welcome.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I will end it here, and it was on a positive note. Thank you so much, Ole, and thank everybody for questions and for listening. And we shall in the future have more events about the Arctic, a region that is becoming more and more important, or it was always very important. But in Central Europe, people were not, or in Southern Europe, as aware how important it was. Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you too, and thank you for your time, and thank you for me being here. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.